Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me. It is a little warmer today, but it's, of course, snowing as well. So, hopefully, you are somewhere warm and safe, and maybe you need to go out today. The roads weren't actually too bad this morning. Everybody was being really careful, not stupid, which was nice. So, I had a actually halfway decent drive in. So, I had mentioned the last couple of weeks that I wanted to get a little bit more into education of the machines. Maybe you've purchased a machine recently, got one for Christmas, and also possibly just thinking about getting a travel machine or a new machine, upgrading, getting a secondary machine. There's lots of reasons people get new machines. So when we are talking about our I would say probably most popular line. The 8.3-inch throat sewing machine is very, very common for the one for people to go home with. We certainly have larger machines. I have smaller machines, but these are probably the most popular. And I wanted to give just a little quick how to. So if you already have one, you could use this as a reference point. If you're thinking about getting one, this could maybe help you decide whether it's the right machine for you. So I have in front of me, I have directly in front of me, I have the embroidery and sewing combo, which is the Brother NQ3550W. The W stands for wireless. That means we can transfer things in wirelessly. I'm not going to talk a lot about the embroidery today. The reason that I have this one in front of me is because of the sewing machine aspects that are there. So I wanted to talk about the similarities and the differences in the machines. If you were thinking about doing a combo versus sewing only, which machine would be most compatible and equivalent from a sewing only machine? So on my left over here, which is on the other camera, I have the Baby Lock Soprano. So there are 4 sewing machines in both a Brother and a Baby Lock option. Excuse me. I apologize. Excuse me. I have a little bit of sore throat, so I've been drinking a lot of water, so I apologize. The Soprano is the top of the Baby Lock line. The equivalent in the Brother is the 1350. I brought that one over so that you could see all of the features that are there. We could talk about the different pieces, and then basically say you have this much in this machine, this much in this machine, this much in this machine, and this much in this machine. So those ranges. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the different names over the years. So this style of machine has been around for a very long time. They have made many different machines on this frame. So there's a lot of different options. It's just a matter of maybe which one you have. So there's a lot of versions of the 500. There's a lot of 700s. There's a lot of 900s and variations of numbers, like 550, 525, so on and so forth. So there's definitely been some changes in the name of the machines, but the actual guts of the machines have pretty much stayed the same because once they found something that worked, they've continued with it. This is an extremely solid line of machines. So let's jump in and talk about some basics. So I'm going to start off with throwing up another camera here and popping that over here. So this one, I'm actually going to make that the whole screen. So this one here is, like I said, the Baby Lock Soprano, and this is the top of the machine. So we're literally looking down. The front of the machine is right here. So this is how all of these machines are set up. Whether you have a sewing only or a combo machine, this is what it's going to look like. So if we are going to turn on the machine, of course, excuse me, I'm going to put that bobbin on there. If you want, you can give it a little twist. It will lock it in place. It will still function if you don't do that. It's just, it makes that so that doesn't move at all. So I've got my thread on here. There's a picture right on the machine that says, your thread should come off one direction or the other. It's going to work no matter what. What a lot of people have problems with is what spool cap they're putting on the end. So Your spool cap should not actually be any larger than the end of your spool itself. So when you are choosing your spool cap, that is the guideline that you want to go by. On our machines, we actually have the thread paths printed right on there. The solid circle ones here, you can see 1, 2, and then 3. Those are going to be for the bobbin. So the ones that are in the circle, that is how we're going to wind our bobbin. The numbers without the circle and a solid line instead of a dotted line are going to be for threading the needle. So we're going to do that in a little bit, but I'm going to start with our bobbin. So the first thing I need to do is go behind number 1 here, and then you can't see it, but there's a little loop printed on the machine right here. We're going to go underneath here. Now, the number 2 with the circle says I need to go that way with my thread. So we're going to come over here. If I was going to the needle, I would go this way, but I'm not. So we're going to come back to the right. You always want to make sure that your thread is coming off the spool this direction. You don't ever want to come straight back to your bobbin tension unit here, because it's just going to make a hot mess. So always make sure that you come this direction before coming over here. So the picture says we need to come behind this metal piece here and underneath our tension piece there. So you can do that by going behind and then kind of twisting, and I always give an extra little tug, and then when I release my thread, it will go right into place. I kind of find that winding behind here and then it kind of slides around a little bit. I find that to be a little bit harder. So what I do is I take and I make a plus sign. So here's my up and down, and then I turn it and I do my horizontal line right and left. Again, I give that little tug and it's right where it's supposed to be. I'm going to do that one more time. All right, so we need to be behind the metal and underneath the tension. If you have ever had a real flowery, like big loops coming out of your bobbin, it's because you weren't in the tension tight enough. So if you ever have that problem, that is what you're going to want to fix. So I take and I pull my thread between my fingers so I have it nice and taut. I'm putting tension on that thread. And then I'm going to take my left hand and come to the back and set it down to the right of that metal bar. And then I turn and I make, like I said, the other direction of that plus sign, and I give that tug so it's inside the tension. Once I have that, I am ready to actually go to the bobbin itself. I'm going to come around the back, just like the picture shows here. So coming from the back, don't come this direction. You want to come around the back. And we're going to just wind that around the bobbin a few times so it anchors itself. And we actually have a cutter on either side of our little plastic piece here. And what that's going to do is it's actually going to cut your thread, yes, but it also, when you pull that in there, it locks the tail of the thread in. So we don't have to go through the circle. We don't have to hold it, stop, cut. We don't have to do any of that because this little guy down here does that for us. We're still pushing to the right. On the front of our machine, which I'm not sure you can see very well, this right here was red and now it's orange. So that's how you know that you have entered in the mode for winding your bobbin. It is one motor. So when you push this over, the motor disengages here and engages over here, just for simplicity explanations. So there's only one motor that runs this machine. You cannot wind a bobbin and sew at the same time. You're going to shift the motor capacity over to the bobbin winder. From here, if you have your foot pedal plugged in, you would hit the gas, or you could hit your start stop button, which my thumb over here on the left is going to do, and that starts to wind your bobbin. The speed on your front of your machine or on your foot control is going to adjust the speed that your bobbin is being wound at. So depending on your preference, a lot of us want to tap that and make it super balanced. What can happen sometimes is the thread can get stuck below and then it starts winding underneath. And we don't want that to happen because then it's not on the bobbin, it's actually here. So if you have to touch it to get it to balance, make sure that you're not pushing it below the little plastic piece here. So I'm going to go ahead and stop. I'm going to let it fill up. Actually, it'll only take another couple minutes or a couple seconds. So when it fills, what it's going to do is it will kind of stop itself. And I'll show you what that means, which is why I'm letting it fill up so you guys can see what that does. All right, so it's not actually adding anymore. It's just kind of jerking. Can you see how that's changed? So that tells me I'm done. I hit stop. I push that back to the left. So it doesn't automatically disengage, but it stops winding when it can't take anymore. We're going to pull that off. And then I use the cutter right there to cut my bobbin loose. And then I'm ready to put that into the machine down here, which we'll come to in a little bit. This guy here is completely finished now. It's back to the left. So my button over here, I'll show you, is red instead of orange. So that is showing me that my motor is back over here instead of at the bobbin. To undo this, I just go in front and then behind, and then I'm going to swing to the left this time to thread for my needle. Excuse me. If you do get a jam underneath here, this piece actually you can pull straight up and remove that thread underneath instead of trying to get your scissors in there. This piece does actually come off. You want to be gentle, but it does come straight up, and then that piece will come off the machine. And then if you have thread stuck underneath there, you can clean that out. What's important to notice is that there are little notches on the underside of this. I have also seen it come in upside down, and people can't figure out why that's not working. So if you've taken this off, the little ridges go to the bottom, and you need to make sure that those snap in to the little grooves that are over here. So if you need to do that, that is how you can fix that problem. And then you just have to push that on. Oh my goodness, I can't see. All right. And then it doesn't just sit down. You have to actually turn until it clicks into place and latches in. And now it's ready to run another bobbin. So if you need to, this is fixable at home. You don't have to bring it to us. This little guy comes up. You can remove that thread and then put it back in. Just make sure that the little edges go down and that they snap into place back on the winder. So for threading, I'm going to actually tip this back a little bit so you can see a little bit more. I'm going to move the camera just a smidgen. All right, so hopefully that will work for you guys. All right, so number one, and then the loop underneath here is the same. So number two, we're going to come this direction. Your tension unit is right in here. So you have tension discs, and when your foot is up, those tension discs are open. When the foot is down, it will close those tension discs. So you always want to thread your machine with the foot up. If you have your foot down, you will see a little bar that comes across here. So if you get to number 4 in your thread path and that is in your way, you need to raise your foot. It goes away. And then you need to unthread back to here and restart to make sure that you're going to get in those tension discs. All right. So once I have that, I'm going to swoop underneath here. And then my take-up lever is in this area here. So I need to make a wide pass to make sure that that's in there. I can pull on my thread here and give it a little tug. If it falls out of the machine, I missed my take-up lever and I have to swing back through there and make sure I grab it. If it's tight in there, that means that I'm in position and that's where I want to be. Coming straight down, and then we're going to come to the threader itself. So the threader, you've got a number 6 guide right here. That is a very important piece that's going to keep it tight to the needle. So we want to have our thread inside the little clip at the number 6. And then we need to be over the number 7, which is right here. There is a picture on the body of the machine. What I have found, if I pull my thread so that is on the body of the machine, and then I pull it down to the left, it will naturally go where it needs to. I've seen a lot of people miss because they're too low. So I have found if you just pull that right along the body of the machine, it will fall into position. What we're looking for is this notch right here and over the number 7. There's a little cutter over here, which will get rid of my excess tail of thread. So I don't have too long of a piece. We want to remove that because we want to have an appropriate amount of thread to go into the needle itself. If we have too long of a piece, it won't be able to push all or most of it through. We'll end up with a big long tail coming out the front of the needle, which we don't want. So from here, we've got this lever that moves this. All right. And we have to tell it who's boss. We have to give it a little umph. It's going to have a little bit of a, uh, I don't know what the word is. It's going to give you a little bit of pause partway through. There's like a hard spot right there that doesn't slide super easy. That you just have to push through. So you're going to hit that spot and then flick it past there, and it's going to thread that needle for you. What we need to make sure is that our needle is all the way up and that we are not using too small of a needle. Pardon. To use your threader, you don't want your needle to be any smaller than an 80-12. If it's a 70 or a 60, the machine will work fine. You can use those needles. Just do not use your needle threader to thread that. You're going to want to get your tweezers and manually thread anything that is smaller than an 80. It will bend the wire, and then your needle threader won't work when you do need it. And where it would work on a larger one, if you've tried it on a smaller one, you could have bent the wire and have it not work. We can, of course, fix that, but who wants to have to do that? So make sure that your needle is in the highest most position and that you have a large enough needle in the machine. This machine on the Soprano, we have an electronic presser foot. So it can actually do all of those movements on its own. But what you want to do is over on the hand wheel, you can feel at the top, there's a little notch, and that should line up with the center of the machine. So you can feel that notch and the split of the machine, and those should be right next to one another. They should be, if that's the notch, then the piece on your machine, it should literally line up to the split of the machine. Once you have all of that, you can flick that lever and boom, my needle is threaded. It's literally that straightforward. It is a never miss needle threader. As long as you have a large enough one in there and the needle is at the highest most position, you will always have a needle threader that functions for you at home. So I just want to take a second and say good morning to everyone who has signed in here. So good morning to Miss Karen. I'm sorry I don't know Picture Me Crafting's first name, but thank you for saying good morning. Good morning, Roxanne. And it looks like I'm so glad that you enjoyed it. So that machine will still have lessons on it. So if you have any other questions, you can always pop in and check. If you have questions, you can make an appointment or you can just call in and say, hey, what does this button do? And we can walk you through that kind of thing over the phone. The Brother's a great machine that you mentioned there. So I'm really glad that you enjoyed your process. And good morning, Miss Cindy. It definitely is snowing out there. Hopefully no one else is having any traffic issues. But if you don't have to go out, I guess this would be a good day to stay in, right? Just going to grab a drink here real quick because my throat's a hot mess. So like I said, this is the Baby Lock Soprano. This is the equivalency of the Brother 1350. I get asked all the time, which machine is better? There is no answer to that. It's which one is the one that is the best for you. Mechanically, they're going to be the same functionality wise. We're not going to have a difference. What's going to be different is maybe what comes in the box, the warranty, and even what color is on the front of the machine. I know that sounds really silly, but you should like the way that your machine looks. You shouldn't look at it and go, ugh, because when you sit down in front of it, you want to have a great experience. So even the color that's on the front of the machine, sometimes they're gold, silver, blue, gray. We've had a different range of colors. So that can also be part of the consideration of which machine is the right one for you. All right, so let's talk about these sewing machines. On the lid, you'll see all of the different stitches that are included. But one of the nice things is when you turn the machine on, and I'm just going to do that real quick, turn it off, and I'm going to pop that back on. It will automatically go to a straight stitch in your little shortcut keys here. So I'm not sure if I can zoom in enough for you to really see. Let's give that a go. Oops, wrong direction. And let's slide that this way a little bit. There we go. All right, so On our screen, we have 9 squares inside of that square there with a number 3 next to it. Those 9 squares mean that we are working out of the shortcut keypad here on the front of the machine. Most of the time when you're stitching, that's probably all that you're going to need. You might be doing a straight stitch. Maybe you're doing a zigzag. All you have to do is touch number 5 and it switches to a zigzag. So we've got our basic, mostly used stitches right there. It's kind of like your favorites on your phone. You can just dial a number and you call mom. That's the same kind of concept here. Everything is a quick dial in right here. But we have lots of decorative stitches on the lid that you can see. And on each one of those, there's a little menu in the corner. So what we need to do is find the stitch that you want and then see what menu it's in. So if I wanted to stitch these stars right here, I'm in the vine menu number 2, and that stitch is number 13. Well, that's not difficult. Let's show you how to get there. So we have a vine right here. I'm going to tap the vine and it says, hey, you had something on the screen. Are you okay to change? And you go, yep. So that takes that off the screen and you can see I'm in a vine mode. There are 3 on this machine. Some only have 2. If I tap the vine a second time, it toggles to vine 2, which is where I want to be. If I accidentally hit it a third time, it would go to vine 3 on this machine. No big deal. It's toggling 1, 2, 3. Guess what? I can go back to number 1 and I can go back to number 2. So it's very easy to change which menu you're working in. That stitch was number 13. Oops, I typed 16. Let's try that one more time. It's at a really funky angle here, guys. And there's that star. So there's the stitch I had on number 16. It looks like grass, which is kind of cool, but I didn't want that. So I'm actually going to hit the backspace and clear that off. No big deal. There's my stars, and it's a whole run of what those stars are. If I only wanted to stitch one star, that's this button right here. So I have either a single stitch or a seam of stitches, and I can toggle between that, and that changes on my screen here. So I have the seam of stitches, so more than one, or I have a single. So the heart is not got anything to do with the stitch that you're doing. It's just the representation of whether you're doing one or an entire run of whatever stitch that you have selected. So you can toggle between that super easy. You can combine different decorative stitches, all of those things. The information on your screen is also really helpful. So I'm in vine 2. I'm on stitch number 13. We talked about that. We're doing a whole run of stitches. And this one is telling me that my needle is going to stop in the down position. I can change that if I would prefer it to stop up by going into my settings menu. You simply tap the settings and then you have the different pieces here. It's going to stop in the down position. I don't have a twin needle on right now, so that's great. And I can page through all of those different things. With control, pretty much leave that guy off. Call me if you really want to work on that one. Initial position. When I turned the machine on, it went to stitch number 3. That's because it has a predetermined center needle position for when it turns the machine on. If I have that in left needle position, it will choose number 1. So you can program how you want your machine to turn on. We can simply tap through all of the different settings, make an adjustment if you needed to. There's multiple things here. This machine has a lot more settings than the others. You can adjust your presser foot pressure, the height. There is an automatic fabric sensor. We call that the AHA feature, automatic height adjustment for your fabric. You can turn free motion on, and this machine will turn down your feed. We've got free motion height, and we also have a pivot height. That pivot is one of the reasons that most people buy this machine if they've decided on this one versus one of the others in the line. So this is the topmost in this series, and it has this button right here. So this is your electronic presser foot lift. And what that does is as you're sewing, and you stop, it will leave the needle in the fabric, but the foot will raise up so that you can pivot your fabric underneath. whether you're pivoting, whether you're doing applique and turning, and you just need to make an adjustment to move around your circle, your heart, or whatever it is that you are appliquing. You can also use that for piecing, like chain piecing. You come up to another one, you stop, you tuck in the next piece, and then you start sewing again. The needle will stay down. You can put the fabric right to the needle. And then as soon as you hit the gas or the start stop button, the foot will go back down and it will begin sewing again. So it's kind of like an electronic presser foot. It is an electronic presser foot lift. It acts in the same manner as your knee lift. That's what I was trying to spit out. Sorry about that. So we also have some other features. So again, this is only available on this model machine or the brother equivalent, which again is the 1350. So this is the Baby Lock Soprano, just to remind everybody what we're looking at. Good morning, Miss Laura. Good morning, Jan. It's kind of that day to be late, isn't it? So hopefully everybody's home safe and warm, or wherever you're at least safe, hopefully warm. All right, thank you again for joining me. We are talking right now, we're in the settings of the machine, which I accessed by pushing this button. When I'm all done, if I just want to leave, I hit that back button right here and I'm out. Or if I've changed the setting, I hit OK and it will change the setting. So we're back to having that star on the screen. If I just want to go back to a straight stitch, I can choose from my menu up here, or I can go back to my number pad. And that's what these guys here are going to give me, those options. So here I'm going back to the number pad and it automatically goes to stitch 3 because, as I said, we are set for center needle position, and that's what stitch 3 is on your number pad. If I wanted to go to the utility menu, I would tap this one and then whatever number stitch I wanted. All of my buttonholes are there. My sideways sewing is there. And again, basic utility stitches that you're going to use from a day-to-day basis. And then when you get into the decorative stitches, those are your vines, number 1, 2, and 3. And then you do have quilting stitches in menu 3. And we also have the alphabet. So we do have an alphabet option on these machines. On the Baby Lock machines, you see what fonts are available, but you would need to go to your manual to see what number a letter would be. So we would hit the A, and then we would type 01 to actually stitch an A, 02 to stitch a B, so on and so forth. And all of that is laid out in your manual, which is great. On the brother lid, we actually do have the numbers written out, which means everything on the lid is just a little bit tinier font so that more is on there. Again, which one do you prefer? How often are you going to use that? Do you want to have everything that you might use them on more of a day-to-day basis larger? Those kinds of things might be the small decisions from one machine to the other. But let's get down to what's in this machine versus what's in some of the others. So all of our machines here are on this beautiful 8.3-inch throat, which I put in the message and in the title of today's information. So the 8.3 is a really, really nice space. It's considered a quilting machine, an intermediate sewer's machine, and it has pretty much what you would need on a day-to-day basis, even in our entry level. So level 1 in this series of machine is either the PS 500 in the brother or the Presto 2 in the Baby Lock. Again, mechanically, they're going to be the same. They're going to have the same basic features. The difference would be, where the stitches are laid out and that kind of thing. On the 500, we do not have this button here. It's literally just not there. But we have scissors on all of our machines. What the scissors will do is actually take your top thread to the back and then give you about a 1-inch tail. So as you're sewing along, you hit the end of your seam, you either tie it in or you just hit your scissors and it takes the needle down. You've got both threads below the needle plate and that blade comes across and cuts and gives you that 1-inch-ish tail. So it's got a great feature on all of our machines. Once you've had a machine with scissors, you really don't want to sew on a machine without scissors. It's very frustrating. And I've heard that from more than people that just work here. It's definitely one of those things that once you have it, you definitely don't want to go to a machine that does not have that. So our 500 does have the scissors, and it of course has auto reverse. A lot of people don't realize what that auto tie-in feature actually does for us. So on our 5, 7, 9, Presto, Brilliant, and Lyric, we have these two buttons, which are the auto reverse. And I'm over here on the right side of the machine. We have auto reverse and auto trim. The auto reverse is pretty much something for the most part, I turn on no matter what I'm doing, because I'm generally wanting to tie in some way, shape, or form. When it's on, the button will light up, and that is how that tells you that you are in an auto reverse mode. When you are in that mode, depending upon what machine, what stitch that you have selected, I'm going to see if I can get this to zoom in a little so you can see. For instance, on this keypad, and it is in gold, so I know it's slightly harder to see. It's not super dark, so I apologize for that. Stitch number 1 has an oval at the top with a dot on the left. And what that indicates is a left needle position. So does stitch number 2. Stitch 3 has an oval with a center dot, as does stitch 4. So stitches 1 and 2 are going to be in left needle position, or 0. And stitch 3 and 4 are going to be in center needle position, which is where we're at here, which is 3.5. I can move that needle position. That's not a big deal. But that's just the programming to get you in your basic spot into your preference. What I want to discuss at the moment is what's right below that. We have a double line below this one, and we have a dot below this one. So we have a straight stitch in left needle position. The double line indicates a forward and backward movement. With your auto reverse on, it's going to stitch forward 3 stitches, backwards 3 stitches, and then it will begin your seam. At the end of the seam, instead of having to hold your reverse button in, you simply tap it and it will tie in. If you just stop sewing, it won't tie in because you may not be finished. You may be turning a corner, adding something in, whatever the reason. Maybe you didn't even mean to stop. You just needed to realign something or whatever. But when you finish the seam, so I get to the edge, I simply over on your machine over here, hang on. We're going to just tap that reverse button. On stitch number 2 here, we have that same needle position, but underneath we have a dot. What that's going to do is stitch 3 stitches in place, and then it's going to start sewing. So it's going to create a knot. I have a lot of people that actually call that a quilter's knot, because sometimes when we're piecing, if we're piecing a lot and they get set aside or manhandled a lot, that end piece kind of starts to split open, and we don't really like that because we want those to stay in there. You can just do a little knot and then it won't unravel, but it's not adding any thread into the seam. It's just giving you a little bit more secure edge so things don't fall apart. So that's certainly an option if you wanted to. That knot is going to be where you see a dot. So you can also see here on number 5, we have a double line at the beginning of our zigzag. That's going to be a forward and backward movement. On number 6, we have a dot in the same zigzag. That's going to be a drill in place, 3 stitches, and then it's going to start your zigzag. So those are indicating what type of auto reverse is going to happen. If you want a knot at the end of your seam, instead of tapping the reverse button, we simply tap the reinforcement key. Just tap that one time and it will do your 3 stitches in place. So they are definitely very, very functional machines. The difference between the machines in the line. I'm going to switch cameras again here real quick because I'm going to talk to you for a second. Good morning to everybody who's been just joining us. So again, there are a total of 4 machines in each, the brother, and then 4 in the baby lock line. In the baby lock, we have the Presto 2. Then we go into the Brilliant. The next one up is called the Lyric. And the next one is the Soprano, which is on the camera right over here. That's this guy that I can't find my hand. There we go. That's that Soprano that we've been looking at. Those machines will run a fairly decent range in dollars. If anybody at home is wondering, we're going to be between roughly $1,000 and $2,000. The Soprano is a little over 2, where the 1350 is basically pretty much at 2. So the dollars are very close between the machines, but they are not all the same. If I do sometimes have a slightly lower price in store than I'm allowed to post online. So If you are looking online, please feel free to give me a call or pop in and see if I have anything different in store. I'm always happy to share that over the phone. All right, so the differences in the machine. We talked about the Presto, the Brilliant, the Lyric, and then the Soprano. In the Brother line, we've got 4 machines, but Brother does numbers. They don't generally do names except for like the really high-end ones, and even then they don't always. So those are going to be the 500, the 700, the 950, and the 1350. A little bit different letters in front of them, but the letters aren't super important because those are what has changed over the years. The guts of the machines are what's really important. So let's start at the 500 Presto level. We've got our scissors, we've got our 8.3-inch throat, we've got auto reverse, and we've got 100 whatever stitches, lots of stitches, more than you will probably ever use because, you know, most of the time we're using a straight stitch, a buttonhole, a zigzag, maybe a blanket stitch, you know, a few other ones. But in general, we only use 5, 6, maybe 10 stitches on an average use. But it's nice to have those specialty ones when we want them. But the number of stitches is kind of, you know, whether that's your thing or not, that is, you know, completely up to you. But on those machines, they have a start-stop button or the option of using the foot controller, of course. And I'm just going to zoom that back out so you guys can see that a little bit better over there. The start-stop button is very convenient if you're doing single stitches, buttonholes, those kinds of things, where your foot controller is a little bit more intuitive when you have your hands in your project. And so using that start-stop button, you have to kind of rock up and stop it and start it with your hands. So some people love one, some people love the other. You can use them both. It's totally up to you. But they have both a start-stop button and a foot controller in that 500 or Presto level. What that machine is a little bit more simplistic in the programming. For instance, if your button is red instead of green, so green means go and it's all ready to stitch. If the button is red and you have no idea why, you can tap the button and you will be told what is wrong and what you need to fix. On the Presto or the Brother 500, it's PS 500 at the moment. Hey, Sarah, what's going on? And hello, Miss Raylene. She has a Brother 2400. I'm so glad that you love it. It's been a second, huh? I'm so glad that you're enjoying that machine. Thanks for popping in. And thanks for saying, hey, Miss Sarah, I miss you. All right. So I totally forgot what I was talking about. Ha, thanks a lot. No, I'm just kidding. So on those machines, the programming on the 500 or the Presto, if your foot is not down, so this machine, none of these will sew with the foot up. It won't go. And if you hit that button on the PS 500 or on the Presto, the screen will tell you E01. That is the error code for lower your presser foot. After a while, you might learn that. But when you're just getting started, you would have to go to your manual, open that up and say, oh, I need to lower my presser foot. So in the 700 and the Brilliant, the programming has changed. We have a little bit more programming. We have more stitches. We have more settings that we can change and make the machine a little bit more personalized to us. When we do that on the 700, if I hit that red button, it actually right on the screen says lower your presser foot. So you are having a little bit easier sewing experience. That's kind of one of those things. It's all about the experience and what we can do and how we can make that better for you. So as you move up, you get more little bells and whistles. Those bells and whistles may or may not mean anything to you, but the idea behind them is to make the person that is using the machine, their sewing experience, to be better, easier, and more fluid. So instead of having to pull out the manual, we can just say, oh, lower the presser foot, and we start sewing. That is one of those differences. There's not a huge difference between the machines other than the programming itself. Again, you have more stitches, you have more settings, so more personalization on the screen itself. And then you have that like I said, that programming. In the box, we do sometimes get more things. So you do get more feet and that kind of stuff in the 700 and the Brilliant. You're going to add those things in. between the 700 Brilliant or the Lyric 950. Now we're going from a manual tension machine to an auto tension machine. So that's the big holy cow between those two machines, and what you're getting when you jump up to the next level. So the 900 or the Lyric is going to have auto tension. With auto tension, we get the ability to do both uppercase and lowercase in our letters. Maybe that's not a big deal. Sarah says we all love when the machine tells us what we're doing wrong. So of course we never like to be told we're doing something wrong, but it's so much more convenient, isn't it? It's so nice. Oh yes, and thank you, Sarah. Yes, so I don't personally use a knee lift, so I always forget that. So Sarah's reminding us that you always she always likes to say, you get a knee lift with this machine, and I always forget that because I don't use a knee lift. But you do get a knee lift in there as well, which is really, really great. So we talked about the auto lift. It's kind of like that knee lift for you. So a knee lift, if anybody out there does not know, plugs into the front of your machine and angles out in front of you. So as you're sitting, it would be on your right side. You would use your right knee or leg and push the lever. And what that does is it takes the foot and it actually raises it on the bed of the machine. So when you move that, it raises that. So it's kind of an auto pivot that is a manual auto pivot versus an electronic auto pivot, which can be a really, really great thing. Sarah's a big applicator. So of course, on a machine that doesn't have an electronic lift, having that ability to raise that foot a little bit to shift around for an applique or something can be a very, very huge help. So that's absolutely a wonderful tool to have for sure. So in that auto tension, you're, like I said, going to get the ability for both upper and lowercase. Is that a big deal? It depends on the person. Some of us like to write, a simple made with love by, and you can do that. You have more options with the auto tension. I have had a few customers that use their sewing machines to actually stitch their parents' names or initials into the like the band of the pants or the tag, the collar of a shirt. For homes that do laundry, they have to put an iron-on label, and then the iron-on label comes off. So instead, they just stitch those right in there. So I've seen multiple reasons for people to use the fonts that are in the machine. But of course, you can use them however you want. So upper and lower on an auto tension. But the thing that I absolutely love about an auto tension machine is the ability for a wider stitch. And in that wider stitch, we definitely get a whole bunch of options. I got a pop up that just got on my screen. Okay, so with that wider stitch, if you are a quilter, you can actually use these stitches to do sashing quilting and things like that. They are absolutely beautiful and they are so fun. Depending upon the machine that you have will depend on what stitches are on there and how many you have, but you do have that option. Some of them are real simple. They're just like little loops. There's one that is literally just like a squiggle that goes back and forth and it fills up your space. Anyway, there's some really great ones. I really like those, and it's kind of a wow feature when you have a 7 millimeter stitch width, but you can stitch a stitch that's literally, I don't know what the width is, but something about yay big, right? So it's pretty cool. And that comes along with your auto tension. Of course, you get more stitches on the machines, you get more feet in the boxes. Those kinds of things are always going to come as you move up in the line. You get more physical as well as things in the machine itself. Once you jump from the 950 or the Lyric into the Soprano or the 1350, we are now going to also pick up that electronic button to raise and lower your presser foot, which gives you the auto pivot feature. And it also gives you the AHA, which is the automatic height adjustment. So as you're going over large seams or you go from a narrow part of the fabric to a heavier part, it doesn't have to be blue jean, but that's a great visual for most of us in our head. We've all done that at some point. As you go over that, it does definitely help the foot stay level and give you no skip stitches, or at least that's the idea behind all of that. Sorry, my throat's really getting dry. Okay, so there is a wonderful range of machines there. And again, we're ranging from approximately $1,000 to approximately $2,000, depending upon which one you pick in that range. So it's a really nice price point for all of the features that are available on those machines. We have one out on the floor for each different level. You're welcome to come in, push buttons, call, ask questions, all of those things. If you already own one of those machines and you've purchased it from us, don't forget you get lifetime free lessons. We are here to help you. So if I mention something, you're like, I didn't know my machine did that, give us a buzz and we can walk through whatever that happened to be, or set up an appointment and give you a lesson on your machine too. We're always happy to do that. The one other thing that I wanted to talk about is the combo machines. So again, I don't really want to talk about embroidery today. It's more about the sewing features. But in front of me here, I have the Brother NQ3550. So you can see the embroidery arm is attached, which means when I turn it on, it's going to go into the embroidery screen. So first thing it's going to do is set the embroidery arm, which happens every time. And it's going to go right to the embroidery screen. In the embroidery screen, if I try to go into the sewing menu, it tells me that it does not operate when the embroidery unit is attached. So I know it sounds silly, but I have definitely been asked. I'm going to really quick take off the embroidery arm. So I got to move it. I just wanted you to see that it didn't work, because if you get that error message at home, it definitely makes a difference, right? All right. So when we turn the machine back on without, I just plugged it back in. There we go. Now it's not plugged in. All right, let's try that again. When we turn it on without it plugged in, so you can see the electronic attachment is not there. When I tap the screen, it automatically goes to the sewing screen. How's that? Is that better? All right. So I just wanted to point out that the sewing mechanics and what you have available on this machine and the other Brother machine like this one and the Baby Lock equivalent, which this one again is the NQ3550. It's around $3,000. The Vesta, which is the Baby Lock version of this one, it has a little bit bigger screen, but everything else is basically the same, is around $3,600, and then the Brother version of this machine is about $4,000. Of the that one's the 3,700. So that one has the larger screen, and it also has Disney already installed in the machine. That's the big difference between the 3,550 and the 3,700 in the Brother line. It's mildly confusing, so I apologize. I wasn't trying to confuse you. I just wanted to talk about the sewing. In the machine, we still have that 8.3-inch throat. So that part is the same. We have the electronic presser foot that is going to raise that up and down for us. So we have that same feature, which guess what? That means we have an auto pivot feature on the machine itself. So this machine in a sewing capacity is going to have those same features that you have in the Soprano or the 1350. So if you are at approximately $2,000 on the sewing machine and you're like, I think maybe I'd like to embroider, but I'm not quite there yet, you could buy the combo machine, put the embroidery arm in your closet, and then a year from now or whatever, when you're ready to embroider, you could come in and we'll teach you how to embroider. The reason that I mention that is it is less expensive to buy the combo than it is to buy the two separate sewing machine and embroidery only machines. Just an option. I always like to give people that information. And a lot of people forget that the sewing is a really great sewing machine in here. You know, they focus so much on the embroidery aspects of these machines, they forget how great the sewing machine is in here. You are getting a phenomenal sewing machine, tons of stitch options. The one difference in our, like the Brother 1350 comes with the wide table, it comes with the 2-spool thread stand, it comes with a whole bunch of feet, it comes with lots of different things. This one doesn't come with the extension table or like the 2-spool thread stand, but they're available separately. So if it's something that's important to you, we can certainly add that in. But on this one, you get the embroidery arm and all the embroidery features instead of those kinds of things. So there is a little bit of give and take. It's just a matter of what is important to you. So So Sarah's adding in that this is such a great machine. Plus, the touch screen is much easier to use for sure. So there are some mild differences. I'm going to switch back here just real quick. Let's see if I can get that screen a little bit better. There we go. That looks so much better. So this looks a little different than the touchpad that you had below on your soprano that we had over there before. So there's no keypad down here. We've got a home screen button for the we've got a home screen for sewing, a home screen for embroidery, your settings, your help menu, and then the arrows to navigate around the screen. The sewing menu, this is what it looks like when you tap that home screen. So it has a different way to get there, but it has all of the same things. And this touch screen is amazing. So we touch our basic stitches. We've got our width, our length, our left, right, shift, tension. To change those, we tap the button. We've got plus and minus, super straightforward. We've got our auto pivot we can turn on with the touch of a button. We can lock our screen to change our needles. All of these things are just really quick, really easy things. Auto reverse, boom, now it's on because it's blue. So you can see those changed color. If you didn't mean to hit it, you tap it again, it turns it back off. No big deal. If you want to go through the different pages of stitches, you simply arrow through those different pages. When you select your stitch, it comes up on screen. It tells you the recommended foot for whatever you've just selected. Here we have a piecing stitch. It tells you to put your J foot on, and here's the settings. So this is your 1/4 inch foot, or not foot, excuse me, stitch. So there's lots of things still in this machine. When you go to the different menus up top, for instance, we have our sideways sewing. If we tap the sideways sewing button, you get the different directions. So again, we have the ability to sew literally to the right or to the left in a straight line, or if it's in a decorative stitch, it's going to specifically make whatever shape that stitch was designed to do. So many things that are built in to make our life easy. The touch screen is super easy. It shows you what direction the stitch is going to go. You can also stitch sideways and forward and back in the zigzag movement. And that is in that menu as well. So all of the decorative things are in here. We talked about that star. I think it's in this one. There's that same star stitch that was on the other. We can have that seam of them, or I can change to a single star as well. There we go. And now I just have one. So we showed you that on the other machine as well. So all of those features that are on the sewing only machine are built into this as well. So if you're looking to have that multi-optioned machine, it's a really great way to go. You get a really great sewing machine, and you have a 6x10 hoop size. So depending upon whether you've ever embroidered before or not, you know that if you have started in a 4x4 hoop, it's a great little machine. The sewing machine on that one is fantastic. It's got a smaller throat. There's a few less stitch options, those kinds of things. It's a great sewing machine. The 4x4 hoop from an embroidery standpoint can be very limiting. And a lot of people find they buy that machine and they're back here within 6 months. They want a bigger machine because they want a bigger hoop. So, you know, if you can get into a combo machine that has a 6x10 option, it's certainly a very, very nice way to get you into having an embroidery and actually have a very large window of projects and options. You can even quilt in your embroidery hoop if you are, I hear a lot of times, I really suck at free motion quilting. I really want to do it. I want to quilt on my own, but I've tried it. I can't do it. You can actually quilt squares in your embroidery hoop, and the 6x10, where it's not the 11x18 on our brand new top of the line machine, it is still a very, very large hoop to give you a lot of options. Is that about the same footprint? It's a great question, Miss Jane. So is this the same footprint or about the same footprint as the Baby Lock Jubilant? So the Jubilant is just a smidgen smaller. It's got somewhere around a 6-inch throat. I didn't actually measure that. I'm sorry. I'm just guesstimating, but it's about 6 inches versus 8.3. And we all know size matters, right? So when you're looking at a throat space, that footprint is going to be very different. The number of stitches is going to be different. We still have a really great needle threader. We still have our scissors, which we talked about. Once you have them, you can't not have them. So for a travel machine, the Jubilant, or the equivalent of that on the Brother side, would be the Brother NS80. Those are great little machines. They stitch very well. The throat is a little bit smaller. So depending upon what you're looking at, let's see. All of our prices just changed. So I used to have all of these things in my head and I no longer do. You are looking at about $700 on a Jubilant or a NS80 versus, like I said, about $1,000 to get into a 500 or a Presto 2. The difference is there, in my opinion. If it's within your wheelhouse, your budget, and your whatever, I would go with the 500 over the Jubilant just because of the feed system, or the Presto over the, you know what I mean. I would go with this line, the 8.3-inch throat, because of the throat space and because of the feed system. We are getting a little bit stronger feed and stronger motors. So you can do more fabrics, you can do more things. It opens a lot more doors and it gives you a little bit more room to grow. If it's about the weight and it's not about all of the things that I just mentioned, it's a great machine. It's also a great travel machine. I actually did a lesson for an 8-year-old last night on the NS80, which is the equivalent of the Jubilant. And she did fantastic. She absolutely blew me away. It's a great machine for kids. It's got a little dial to choose the stitches, so it's super easy to choose the stitches. There's a hidden stitch, so its brother calls it the NS80. There's 80 stitches that are listed on the screen. There's one that has double lines, so you go from 80, you go double line, and then you go to 1. That double line is actually a little alligator. It's a hidden stitch. It's super cute. Excuse me. So it's a great little machine. It just depends on what it is that you're looking for. What is the first one-to-one? What is the first one-to-one accommodating the 6x10 hoop? Is that what we're asking? So the 6x10 is available as a embroidery only machine. Yeah, gotta love them, right? Autocrat's a wonderful thing. The 6x10 machine is available as an embroidery only. The brother line, that's the 1700. The baby lock line, you're looking at the, oh, I just forgot. The flare, sorry. I knew it started with an F, but the old one was the flourish, and that's what popped in my head. So the flare or the 1700 is the embroidery only version to get you into a 6x10. The combos, so the sewing and embroidery 6x10, we have the baby lock Vesta. It's going to have a little bit larger screen than the machine I just showed you, but everything else is basically the same there, throat, all of those things. And then the brother, the exact equivalent of that is the 3700. The one I showed you is the 3550. It's got a slightly smaller screen and there's no Disney that's in the machine, though it is compatible with Disney. So depending upon what's important to you on those things is what you're looking at on there. So equivalency from a sewing, it's going to be the Soprano, or the 1350 is going to be the equivalent sewing machines for our 6x10. So hopefully that answered your question. I guess I'm not 100% sure what the accommodate. So hopefully I answered. If not, let me know. And of course, I will give you a different answer. So big picture, these are great machines. They are very easy to thread. You saw that at the beginning. You've got your bobbin winding. The only thing that I didn't actually show you was how to put the bobbin in. I can do that real quick here on the machine that is in front of me. And let's focus. All right. All right, I'm going to switch screens again. Give me just a second. All right. Okay, good. Thank you. I'm glad I answered that. So here is your bobbin. We've got it wound. There's a little push button here that pops up the cover. The machine will not work well without that cover. So don't lose that and don't forget to put that on. We have seen that occasionally when things come in. What we want to have is our bobbin with the tail to the left coming off the top. So we do not want it coming off the top to the right. It is very important that it's coming off to the left. What you can do is make a little P in front of you there, so a shape of a letter P. And if it's a P, it will give you perfect stitches. You're going to drop that in with that tail. I like to put my finger just to give it a little extra tension and pull around And what we're doing is hooking it in this little guide right here. I pull straight back to make sure I can feel tension on that thread. And then I pull around and there's a little cutter right there. That is literally all you have to do for your bobbin. I apologize. I meant to do that earlier and I didn't. So that is literally it. All of these machines, the machine will pull up the bobbin thread, and you do not need to pull that up unless you specifically want it that way. So if you are doing, quilting or something like that, and you don't want that little messy knot on the back that happens when we don't pull up the bobbin thread, then you can certainly pull it up. It works to do that. You just don't have to do that. The machine will do it for you. So all of that said, these are fantastic machines. We do generally keep them in stock. Again, if you already have one, hopefully this will give you the basics of how do you choose your stitch, how do you thread this, that, and the other. And you always know if you bought it from us, we are here to help. So give us a call or set up an appointment, and we would be more than happy to answer anything else. So I'm so glad I answered your question, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful, hopefully warm and safe day wherever you are at. It's supposed to stop snowing within the next couple of hours. So hopefully it won't be too bad around here either. Thanks so much. We will see you guys next time. Have a great day. Bye.